Sorry, as I indicated, I'm using a mini canvas, so I'm out of my system. So sorry for that. I think you have lost some substantial time, but let's try and see whether we can recap. So I have to go back to where we started. So what I was talking about is the link between what we did last week and what we are doing today. Last week, I think we talked about the design, and we also said that the design is so much dependent on the user, and if therefore you are going to have a good design, then you must actually have a good design technique, so then you can actually be able uh, to do something good. I know people can actually do a system and they'll actually say, yeah, I've done a good system. The key thing is how good is your system. So your system can only be good if it is able to meet the user experience. And the user experience, then we can actually say, as you are going to see, is the sum total of a number of things. But to determine the user experience, you must actually look at both the product, in this particular case, your system that you're going to come up with, and then the people who are going to use it. So the product can be good, but the people may actually resent on it. So what is this that you need then to appeal so that then your system is good? So we say that you must actually understand how people feel about your application. How satisfied are they? How do you measure to their pressure, liking? And in this particular case, we are also looking at how do they feel when they use it, the look of the system, and you are going to see some of the aspects that determine the looking in terms of even holding, opening, and closing. If you look at opening and closing, you are looking at how easy is your system in terms of navigation. And therefore, this gentleman here will call this person known as Garrett actually says that every product that is used by someone has a user experience. Every product. Now, yours is a system which is going to be used by somebody. It must have a user experience. And I was trying to give an example here of a newspaper. You realize that the people who like different newspapers, maybe in terms of the outlay, in terms of the content it has, in terms of the fonts and such kind of things, and even others in terms of the look. Here's an example of a ketchup bottle. For those of you who like the French fries, you will definitely note that there has been a change in the way that bottle looks like, and many other things. So therefore, when you are coming up with a system, then I say now cannot design a user experience, because this is inherent in a person. So you can't really design a user experience. But what you do is you come up with a product in order to have a good experience, right? You come up with something in order to have a good experience. So what is this then, what you call user experience? We say it's the sum experiences of a user interacting with a product. Is the sum experience of a user interacting with the system. You can actually say that. That sum, therefore, I then said, could be maybe the look, could be the way it is being opened, and such kind of things. Portability. How portable is your system? Or it is such a system that cannot work in one machine. Rather, if it works in one machine, it cannot work in the other. So all these things, they actually determine the user experience. And in that particular case, therefore, you can see that is also dependent on the person. So user experience, therefore, is complex. And I think you realize last week we also used the word complex, you know, that social informatics is not just something like that, it's something which is complex. Why is it complex? It's complex because individual predisposition of the user. When we talk about predisposition here, we are talking about every one of us has his or her own liking, dislike, individual feelings. That's basically what you can, individual characteristics. And some of these things can be attitude, motivations, and needs. They can actually influence, the predisposition of an individual. And therefore, the liking of your system and the liking of anything that's going to be, you can see its individual predisposition. So you can see now we start to dive a little bit further into the human aspects, not the technical aspect. If the system is going to be liked, then there's need to understand the user, understand the attitude of the user, motivation of the user, and the needs of the user. And the needs are very, very important. But again, the needs can be there, but then you realize that the other aspects like motivation is not there. Characteristics of the interactive system, e.g. purpose, functionality, and usability. Now, I know you guys are very familiar with functionality when we talk about functional attributes of your system. That is what you are going to do in chapter 4. But it's also important to look at what's the purpose of that particular system. A purpose is a goal. What you want to achieve, the ultimate goal that you want to achieve from your system. How does this that you are going to come fit? For instance, if you are doing a clinical management system, so what is the goal? Of course, there are many things it is going to do in that particular organization. Um, Allow me to admit some people who are out, but there is one person, whoever knows Sadrak Njoki, you may actually tell him to be able to give us some. So, Sadrak Njoki, I've admitted you, but again, I may put you outside depending on how uh, I make observations. Sorry for that. So, so I was trying to give what's the difference between functional attributes of a system and the purpose. So here, you are doing a clinical management system. So there is what we call a broader goal. The purpose is why are you doing that system? Maybe you want to improve efficiency in the clinical service delivery. That's a purpose. But for you to achieve that, efficiency, you need to have so many others for you to be able to achieve that what you're calling efficiency. And with that, then, those other many things that you are going to do are what you call the functional characteristics of your system. Then there is what we call usability. How easy is it to use your system? You don't have to do something which is so complex. I must indicate that there are systems which initially required that you have to write a code for it to execute. So what does that mean? It means it is a problematic. Not everybody is going to recall those commands for it to be able to execute. That's the one way in which you look at usability. Other ways in which you look at usability is, have I actually, put in place some elements which can guide the user so that then this user is able to know where to get whatever they need. This is also very important for you to be able to know what is expected of your system. So when you look at, therefore, who determines usability? Whoever determines usability is the person. And therefore, this person now becomes a social entity into your into your system. But of course, there is also technology. Some technology makes a system to be easier to use as compared to others, right? So you don't have to use specific, technologies which are complex to this person that we are talking an individual predisposition. If people are inclined to Windows based applications, then you do not need to take them to maybe another uh, environment. If people are inclined maybe to maybe a mobile application, you don't have to take them to, a web. So in that particular case, therefore, you are looking at the individual liking versus, the usability that they are going to have from there. And that is what we are calling really, you are looking at the social tech attributes in order to make this what you are calling design for a user experience. Now, there is also what we call the contextual dependencies. Remember, we also said in our previous discussion that a system is defined by where it's going to be used. And in that case, that's what we call contextual dependencies, right? A good example is if you are doing a system which is going to be used by farmers, and these farmers are found in a rural setup or small holding farmers. So obviously, these small holding farmers, you cannot actually do an application which is maybe how do you call it, web based. You can see their environment, maybe they are found in the remote area where they're not going to have computers, or they're not going to have tablets, or they're not going to have such kind of things which you will need a web. But you can actually do maybe a USSD application, because in that particular case they are likely to have the low end type of computers in the form of phones that is going to make them work very well. Okay, so in that particular case, therefore, you can see the context as it determined how you are going to do your application. The environment where it's going to be used is so important that you now know the person, you know the characteristics, the functional attributes of that, from that farmer, and then you know where this person is found in terms of the technology, among other things. Of course, here there are other salient or maybe other things that I've not mentioned, things like the knowledge level, okay, of these people. They also influence the user experience. So ideally, you can see this then takes you into designing a computing system that is going to meet the needs of an environment where you are going uh, to to operate. So I invite any clarification up to there before I move to the next slide. Good. That isn't, so we move to the next slide. The next section that we want to look at is a reflection. It's a reflection, just to bring these things at home. I think most of you have seen the iPod or have used the iPod. So the question here, why was the iPod user experience such a success? Ordinarily, I could have masked this one, but because time is not there, one of the reasons as why the iPod user experience was such a success is that quality user experience from the start. So for you who's going to do a system, do not do a system that when you put in a particular place, the users are going to have a negative feeling about it. You see, in that particular case, you will be climbing a mountain to convince people, right? Must be simple, elegant, distinct, pressurable, must be have fashion items, catchy names, cool, among the many things. Okay? And I think these words resonate to some with some of you. See, when we say catchy names, so if you are doing something for, let's say, for generation Y or generation Z, as they nowadays say, then you have to use words that communicate with them. If substantially, these are the people who want to make use of this your system. It must actually look like I feel good, pressurable. I feel good when I use this particular, system. Distinctly planned. Do not actually start using commonly, things that you are doing something because somebody else did it. Let yours stand out. I mean, it could be, the best thing that can happen. But more importantly, a good system. This is very important that you would hear it from me a little bit more. A good system is that which is simple. And therefore, from the social informatics perspective, you are saying simplicity is also elegant. Must have version items. In other words, if we are talking about things that the current way of maybe presenting, diagrams representing reports, a report is presented this way. So that is the version. Try to make it that way. Do not actually present it in another way. Present it in the fashionable manner because that is what everyone likes. Well, what is cool is also dependent on the characteristics of the people that you are focusing on. Now, but how do you then achieve this, what you are calling good user experience? And I'm sure every one of you want your system when you present to the panelists. And here, when I'm looking at the panelists, I'm talking about the examination that you're going to do towards the end of this semester. But beyond it there, I believe everyone here in this class, I hope, I pray that everybody here at the end, you must actually also have a system that you can actually go present anywhere. How do you then make sure that the user experience is good? You must use these principles, what we call user-centered design principles. Okay, they are what we call user-centered design principles, and they are around 14. And of course, as I've said, things change, but they're around 14. The only thing here is that the user must be at the center. Okay, um, you know, technology affects people. People live in a social environment, and therefore and technology is also influenced by people. So what are these that we are looking at there? So we are saying the user must be at the center. And for you to be able to achieve that, so you can see graphically or, representatively, here is the user. But the user is surrounded by all these things that we are talking about here. Number one, user research. What do we mean by user research? Up there, we talked about, if I may take you back here, we talked about needs. So you can see individual predisposition needs. So, meaning you must conduct research. You must conduct research for you to be able to understand the user needs. How do you conduct this research? I'm sure you've done, I think, around 2 units that have given you some tips on how to do this. One, you can actually observation method, or you can actually conduct an interview, or you can administer a questionnaire or any other method. So generally saying, you can do a survey, isn't it? So you can do a survey to ascertain what the user needs are, conduct research. So I want to believe that whatever system that you've done, or you are currently doing, at least you can stand somewhere or you can actually convince anybody that I conducted this research and these are the facts that I found, and that's why this system has to be like this. The next one is information architecture. Now, information architecture, we'll talk about more in respect to how do I store what is the structure of the data that I store and extract, right? How is it going to appear like, right? So you must actually therefore look at because now information architecture, you're looking at the meaning that you have attached into your data, okay? Because information is about, that which has been processed. You must actually be able to have it clearly. Um, then the next thing is the design concepts. So if you have a very bad design, then obviously your system is going to be bad. And that's why in chapter 3 of your research documents that you are going to present, people are usually keen asking, okay, what design methodology are you going to use in order to come up with your system? You must follow, and these things, the design concepts will be dependent on the needs. And so you must actually have a good design concept and principles that then are going to assist you achieve what you want to do, among the many things that you can actually look at. So in this particular case, therefore, you go through all these things. Now, maybe let me talk about this one, which is what we call cognitive psychology. It may appear to be the new one here. Most of these you have actually maybe interacted with them or used them. Now, cognitive psychology is cognitive comes from what we are talking about, human thinking. So in other words, so the cognitive thinking or the cognitive psychology or the human thinking here is ask yourself repetitively that what will be the interpretation from my user. Okay, what does my user expect of this? What will the user interpret this to be? Okay, it's very important that you are in the user side. It's very important that whatever words that you put on your screen, rather on your landing page or whatever section of your system, whatever word that you put there, how would it be interpreted? What meaning would it have? You know, what is the thinking process of your user? Okay, the cognitive psychology. What's the thinking process of your user? Such that if you put something somewhere, is it going to be anticipated by the user that this is what it means? So that's very important because a user doesn't always anticipate what we call surprises. Users do not like surprises. They like, they like to feel they are in control of the system. And I'm sure most of you, your phones, you can almost bet that you are so particular to the type of phone that you want to have. And one of the reasons is that I know where to find what I need. So the same to any user of any system, even the one doing, people want to feel I am in charge, not I depend on somebody to assist me to do something. Yeah. So this is very important, and you must actually therefore ensure that you do a system that is resonating with that particular level. And when it goes into the cognitive psychology, then we normally say you have reached the highest level of system, system designs. Now, there's also here what we call visual design. Now, visual designs is an emerging kind of attribute in modern system doing, but it touches on what we normally say, what you have actually seen on the previous section where we talked about look, how does your application look? How does it appear? Um, when For instance, if you look at various websites of various systems, there are those that you are like, yeah, when you look at it, it strikes your imagination, and you're like, yeah, I like this. Sometimes even whatever when you like it and then you try to go inside, you find it's nothing. But it's well designed visually in terms of how does it look. Remember, a look can be deceptive. I agree. But then in the systems, we are saying you do not have to have something cluttered. You need to have something which is well designed. For instance, I think in your previous units of system designs, I'm sure you must have mentioned that you you do not need if you are scrolling down your system, you don't have to press 4 times for you to reach the footer. Or if you are scrolling across, you do not need, you know, a very long, kind of scrolling. You want something which is like well positioned, or even the photos and say kind of things that are well positioned within the home page or another page. So that is what we are called visual design. I do not all the others, I'm sure you are pretty familiar. I then can move to the next section. But you are free always to let me know which section is unclear here. Now, why user-centered design versus user experience? As I've said, user-centered design are the principles which guide us to be able to achieve a good user experience. Without user-centered design principles, there is no way you can actually have a good user experience. Now, why then the two? It's because it will increase customer satisfaction. Remember, uh, in the third slide, we talked about satisfaction. The goal of any system that one does is to satisfy the user needs. Then you can only achieve that through what we're talking about here. There is user productivity, efficiency, and accuracy, because now the user knows where to find these things and everything has been put correctly. Moreover, we have actually seen efficiency is one of the principles of user-centered design, and therefore there will be increased productivity. Productivity in the sense that people will feel, comfortable using the system, and therefore they are motivated. So increased service, site usage, and adoption. Because in that particular case, they are able to use this. They know where things are found, and then they can actually be able to use it very well. Um, there is this Agila. I think you know the Agila platform, which is an aggregator platform, which is owned by the Ministry of ICT and Youth. Its main work is to, you know, uh, bring information to the youth in terms of opportunities that exist, working online and such kind of things. Now, one of the things that they try therefore to do is somehow they also try to check, um, the traffic to the site. In one study, which I think I've actually seen, maybe I may have participated in the same, anyway, I participated in the same, is that we realized that whereas indeed the owners feel that this is an aggregator, but to the other user, they think it is a platform. So you see, in that particular case, therefore, the service that they are offering is not actually being adopted correctly, because the way it is put in such a way that it is convoluted. I mean, it's mixed up, right? So in that particular case, therefore, they could have avoided that by applying the principles that I've talked about here. And I'm sure most of you, some of the systems that you've done, if you put it there, people would not even know what is it for. So you need to put it in a manner that is distinct. And remember, we've talked about the distinct, and it must be a distinctive brand. There is decreased support and training costs. Why? Because I've talked about the cognitive psychology, meaning that the user feels, in control, and therefore they can navigate and they can find whatever that they need. Human thinking, reduce development time and cost. That means create only the features users need, because the user is there, it tells you I need ABCD. So you are not going to design something which you end up actually putting on, on hold. I have seen systems whereby there are so many modules, but only one module is in use. Meaning, therefore, the other modules, people took time and money maybe to develop, but they are not useful for a particular place. And this is now where we talk about incremental aspects of system design. That design a system that can actually be incremented in future, meaning you do it for the purpose it is intended now. But then you leave room for scalability. And I think we talked about the aspect of scalability last week or the other week, but I think it was last week. Reduce maintenance costs, because now if everybody is aware, mistakes will not be there. So do it right the first time. And I think you have also talked about it in the previous section, that iPod was able to have a positive user experience because they got it right the first time. And that's very important. Um, Sorry, I have seen somebody in the waiting room whom I do not know. I think last time I said if we use our surname or our admission number, then I can be able to admit. There's somebody called Reda B. I don't know that one. My apology, I can't admit him or her. But if it's your friend, you can tell him or her to use the other official names. My apology. Now, the next thing is what to do. What do designers do? Now, here you are a designer now. We said user, they research. You saw there, I started by research. Once you research, do what we call usability analysis. In other words, usability analysis is a whole forest of a number of things that you can learn about this. But basically, usability things you are talking about how navigable is your system, how searchable is your system, and among other things. So when you look at usability analysis, you as the designer, you might, you are the designer and the developer anyway for now. You as this mixture of these things, you might not be able to objectively analyze your system. So you would need to, and I think I mentioned it last time, you need to give your friend and actually tell your friend, can you use this system? If you're, at the end, your friend will tell you, I couldn't find whatever you wanted. So if your friend tells you that, then that is a direct answer that you have not designed it very well. Okay, so that because you want something which people are able to easily find, navigate among other things, and search, display among other things. Information architecture, I think I talked about how do you put out your result. Remember, any system, and this is because I've seen students over a period of time, they forget that the essence of a system is that there will be input there will be process, and there will be the output. So now the information architecture focuses on the output side. How do you actually structure your output? How, for instance, how do you expect your reports to appear? So these are very important things that you can actually need to pay attention to. The interaction design, in other words, if I am to, you have ever seen systems which are really chaotic, and to give an example of one, but I will not tell you which company that is for now. The users or the employees of that company, I will not tell you the company, but this is a really example. I think it will assist you to understand this concept better. The company, because of the happenings, now people are working remotely. They requested their employees to work from home. Now their employees were getting instructions. The employees are not the technical people. So there's the technical department and there are these other employees. So they wanted the employees who are not techie to use their systems from home. Now, since these people are spread across the republic, or they are working remotely, then it meant that the technical people could not go to every individual to configure the systems. So what did they do? They told them, fine, now because of this happening, we must upgrade into another security level. So they were instituting um, 3-level authentication mechanism. And for you who's here, that will appear easy. That one is easy, but I can tell you where I reside, quite a number of those employees, well, my friends who are staying there, and then they could not actually interpret those basic instructions. And as they were even getting that instruction, but interacting with the system was a problem, because here the technical people are saying, check for this. Now, for them, they do not know what this, tech people are saying. What is this that you are saying that we need to check? So that means what does that mean? It means you must have an interaction level which is easier. The system must be interactive, in nature. That if I put in this, I get this reply, okay? And the reply should be interpreted in the context of what I put. And that was the whole challenge, actually. I could see, like, you see the one of signature. You are told, okay, enter this, you get the TPO, and then they are like, what does this mean? So it becomes it's not interactive. So I believe even yourself, like when you say, okay, when you register, you must log in through this, use simple words that are able to communicate if your user is a non-techie person. Because the user interface design is also, I think that one, visual, I think I've talked about them. So what do designers do? They must think, they research, analyze, they come up with all these things. And in this, there is what we call here ways in which they move. You may want to look at it from an abstract. Down there is very abstractive, up there is concrete. Now, or you may want to look at it in terms of time. You start with conceptualization, a concept, and I believe in your earlier, in the systems that you are doing, you are doing right now, you started with a concept, conceptualization. Then as time goes by, you are at completion. Okay, so either way, you may want to look at in terms of time frame, conceptualization to completion. Here, you are starting from abstraction to concrete. The next thing is what is involved in the process of interaction design. They are the following things: establish requirements, developing alternatives, prototyping, and evaluating. So I believe you've done this. If you didn't follow this, it doesn't mean that you are wrong. You may combine each some of these stages, but in interaction design, because that is the very because a system requires interaction. The poor interaction, because that's where now the experience now becomes, achieved or realized and estimated. So these are some of the things one can actually do: establish a requirement because it tells you how. From the how are there alternatives. Now the alternatives you must again discuss with the user. Then from there, prototype. So then you are able to say, okay, if we did like this is how it will appear. Before you go to production. Prototype is a model of how. Once you've come up with the prototype, evaluate. If the evaluation gives, good reports, then implement. That is the essence there. So generally, therefore, user experience goals are these. Remember, we talked about the purpose and say kind of things. So the goals should be desirable. These are the desirable aspects. Ask yourself, so evaluate these, and you can see these are more about people. Have nothing to do with what? Have nothing to do with technology. And that is the essence of social informatics now. Satisfying, helpful, motivating, emotionally fulfilling, it is. So when you look at all these things, ask yourself the system that you've done or the system that you're about to finish. Can you tick at least 90% of this? If you can't, then I think you can even mark yourself that you have some steps to move, and that's okay. You can actually be able to reach there, right? Should be surprising. So that's why we are actually saying fashionable. Should not be something that you do because it has been done this way. Okay, we normally say stretch the limit, question the limit and try to see whether there is something. Creativity. Be creative. In fact, I can tell you for free, you will pass very well if this one is there. Yeah, support creativity. How creative are you? Yeah, maybe there are these algorithms that you learned. How have you changed these algorithms and then you have created something good, among other things. It is unhelpful on these things now, whatever we call those which are now not very good, frustrating, boring, making one feel guilty. That's why the one I talked about, um, you know, cognitive psychology. If somebody feels like the system makes me feel useless, they will actually most likely not like it and they will not actually adopt it. Okay, annoying, childish, gimmick. You see, childish. As I said, catchy words, and that's why the catchy words in a given group might not be catchy words in another, or will be like yeah, patronizing, meaning that you labor, you struggle to find something, and makes you feel like to give up. Make one feels stupid. If you have a system that you are the only one who knows how to use it, and yeah, I remember last time we were analyzing why is it that Safaricom actually is such a big thing. You are going to see in an analysis here. Good. Those are what we call undesirable aspects of a system. Ask yourself whether they are there. Now, usability and user experience goals, therefore, you can also do this, selecting terms to convey a person is feeling, emotions. Can help designers understand the multifaceted nature of user experience. So this is when you are conducting user research, you will get to know the feeling of the people, among other things, so that then when you design a system, you input them. How do usability goals differ from user experience goals? They differ this. Now, when you say usability goals differ from user experience, so you can check from whatever that we talk about here. These are the user experience goals. Now, when you look at this and you go up there, when you talk about user experience, the difference is so small. Usability goals is ensuring that you are able to do things within, your ability in the most, convenient manner. So, usability goals and the user experience, they enforce one another, or complement. Are there trade-offs between the two kinds of goals? Because these usability goals and these, are there trade-offs? The answer is very minimal. Can a product be both fun and safe? The answer is yes. So you can see safe will be maybe the user experience goal, but fun is the usability goal. So we are saying a product can be fun, at the same time can be safe. Now, the other thing is, how easy is it to measure usability versus user experience? That is a conjuncture. It's not easy, because you will find that usability is inherently dependent on the usability. Now, user experience goals is also influenced by the user, ability. So let me put it this way. Knowledge, okay? Like now, you as a people, you are knowledgeable in IT. Now, your experience of using maybe, let's say, an what we call learning management system, like the e-learning or a Moodle, is likely to be, your user experience there is likely to be positive because you can easily navigate through a few things. Now, let's look at somebody who's not coming from the field of IT, meaning therefore their knowledge in IT is a little bit lower than yours. So you can see the experience in that one may be different. So ideally, you can see usability, okay, their ability, your ability to use something might influence your feeling about something, right? So you see, you have a superior knowledge about this technology, and therefore your expectation will be slightly different from the expectation of the other one. But all of you might end up actually saying, okay, I have a positive experience about e-learning, but you will be looking at it from different perspectives. And that is the essence, that this is not that one influences the other directly. No. The other thing is here, these are some of the things then you can actually look at, which then now brings the convergence. I think I'm going to share these materials. You can see at the end is what we want is a user experience. What leads to a good user experience or a bad user experience is the interaction. And this interaction, you can see, is dependent on all these things. It's dependent on all these things. One, there is the user here. Then there is the social factors. Then there is the cultural factors, there is the context of use, and then there is the product. Okay. Now, when you look at the users, users have values, emotions, expectations, prior experience, etc., knowledge, education level, other things. Social factors is time, pressure, pressure of success and failure, expressing implicit requirement, among other things. The environment where people are found, what we call like now the social structures, huh? Whereby they actually say no, people um, should not be using this thing in this particular way, and such kind of thing. Cultural factors, gender, and in fact, I think I participated in a employability study, digital employability studies, whereby still you can't believe in Nairobi here that still there is a group which believes that a particular gender should not be working online. So you see, that's so when it's that way, then it means their negative attitude towards the interaction of those platforms is still inherent. Habits or fashion, language, symbols, religion, among other things. There's context of use, time, place, and I think we talked about this previously. It's very important to be able to determine how something is going to be used um, among the many factors one will consider, then the product itself. So when now you look at usability, which is important now I take you back to the previous section, you can see usability here touches directly, contributes through the product into the user experience. So if the usability is bad, then the user experience is going to be bad if it's not reinforced by all others. Yeah. But usability can be bad, but all these other things are actually making it look good, and ultimately the user experience becomes good. So essentially, what I must say is if you are doing a good system like the one we expect you to do, you must pay attention to all these things. Ultimately, then user experience will be good and your system will be very good. Um, then how do we measure? This is a way of in which one can actually look at user experience. Now, there are a few individuals who seem to be joining the class now. I think I need to block them and leave them out. Um, User experience can be positive. That means a good design is more than the absence of problems. So it's important to note that there will be problems, but it has to be good. The key thing is add extra value to design, such things like emotion, make it fun, personal, fulfillment, among other things. Do not make people feel stupid when they are using your system. I think you have actually seen it the other side. Emotional, let people connect with it. Be sure not to use colors which make people feel bad. Holistic, that means pragmatic qualities, that is traditional usability dimensions, hedonic qualities, non-task related beauty challenge, stimulation, and self-expression. Now, hedonic qualities are very important. For instance, if you are looking at a system which is likely to be used by the female gender, this is very important. Hedonic here looks more about, things which are attractive, things which look beautiful, things which are more, stimulating in terms of, I can express myself, in this, being appreciative more. Those are the kind of things that a system which looks, yeah, good, it's a system which you bring element of elegance in, you know pragmatic means that do not, and that's why I talked about traditional usability dimension, meaning that do not be static I mean, be, creative. You have seen creativity in that particular sense. Subjective systems, you can have a good experience if you're not so subjective. That means be, uh, focused. Stability focused on performance and task can be objectively measured. So meaning that in that case, you are not really, when somebody is subjective means he's very offensive, biased, among other things. So we say a system should not also be biased, but it can only accept this and nothing else. Of course, we have that element of constraining a system. System must work within specific constraints, but you must actually have it a little bit robust. Donic attributes relate to the user self, which is subject to deep variation among individuals. I think I've talked about it in the other side. Among other things that you can also use to measure, I think this my last slide, because I didn't want to take this very long. There's an exercise I want you to reflect on, is usability. I've talked about ease of use and efficiency should be something which is efficient. Aesthetic, that is sensorial experience generated by the look and feel of the interface, and to the extent to which this experience matches individual preferences and goals. Um, I think the last time you can see this slide is 2015. Last time I was again demonstrating this, I was giving an example of, you're somebody who has done a system for managing football or games. In fact, it was not football games. And in the landing page or in the home page, let me say in the home page, what you will see there are chickens. I mean, there's nothing there about, chickens and games. I've never known games of chickens. At best, then somebody should have actually even put cows, bullfighting in Kenya. I think there is a bullfighting in Coromani or somewhere in Spain. Something. But when you put chickens there, somebody's like, this is not what I expected. So a sensory experience has to be generated by the look and a few other things. Symbolism, meaning that association elicited by a system. So in other words, sometimes now we are in the era of using of emojis and such kind of things. How do you use them to enhance your visual design, as we have discussed on the other side? But those visual designs must therefore relate to what people will interpret. That's the cognitive processing. The individual recognizes a symbol and associates it with a meaning. If you put a particular symbol there and then when they go in, they find something else, then you see your design is very bad. So essentially, you can see therefore design requires an understanding of the social context. And the thing is this: people interpret things differently and in different environment. And therefore, you need to understand the environment where they are. You need to, so when you are designing a system, this is very important. Do not say, oh, I'm doing an agriculture management system. Ask yourself for where, for which farmer, because there are different farmers. Agriculture management system, for who? If you are doing daily farming, then wherever we expect the first page, the pictures we want to see is, cows and this kind of things. I'm sure if people see you are saying daily, farming, and then people are seeing dogs there, photos of dogs. Well, I know, yeah, dogs can be used for grazing. I mean, taking, cows, the grazing field, but I don't think that is practiced in the context of Kenya. It could be practiced in those who have big, ranches somewhere else. So you can see, therefore, the social informatics shapes our thinking in the way in which we design our system. So with that, yes, I think the fellows who are in the waiting room, I'm likely to leave them there, maybe. I don't know. Let me, but I think in next time I will leave them. I'm not sure whether the internet disturbed them. Okay, any question up to there? Okay, now that there is no question, I have a question here. Um, this is not an exercise that you are going to hand in. This is for, it was for that group. So for you, I want you to um, focus on number two for now. Look at number two. So I'm going to hide the rest. Look at number two, which is that. Right. Now, with that, I will then now want to ask, well, people have never said a word in this class. John Ndongo, be the first to respond to that question. John Ndongo. And then the next one is Jeffrey Gechoki. So let's start with John Ndongo. John Ndongo, are you John Ndongo, are you able to hear me? Yes, yes, Ndongo, no problem, no problem. You can type, yes, still type. So, Jeffrey Gechoki, go ahead as John types. I'll be able to or give a comment. Chamatia, sorry, I note your problem and also the other one. It seems many of us have issues with mic. Go ahead, Gechoki, also type your answer there. Um, let's go to Atuti. Atuti, Atuti, I noticed you were a chairperson of our group, the ones we formed. Yes, Atut, can you say something as Jeffrey and then John types their answers? Atute, are you there? I'm likely to use the approach here. One last call. Brett Atute, are you here?
Yes, yes, I am.
Um, could appear Brett Atute is not able to hear me.
I can hear you.
Yes, then please address us on that. At least give your thought about it.
Um,
Atute can't hear you.
uh, I'm having trouble with my network. Let me just fix it for a second.
Sorry?
Let me just fix my network for a second.
Okay, okay. I'm still waiting for the chat from Joan and Gechoki. I haven't seen your responses. John, have you finished typing? I'm still waiting for the answers from the two individuals, in fact, the three individuals, before we can, as I wait the response from the three now, I am going to give a chance to another person, but the other person is not going to give an answer before you give yours. But I'm only going to identify that person uh, to prepare. So the next is Tangus, Tangus Edmond. Tangus Edmond, be on standby once I get the answers from the three I've received from Joan. So I'm going to post it for everyone because and also Gechoke. So that's very good. So, but I need to also hear from. So I'll start with Ndungu because I can post it um, to everyone here to be able to see. Um, so first response is is there. So she says standardization. You could maybe optimize functionality tests to see whether it can work on different platforms. Um, yeah, John, I like always, it's good to try. It's always good to try. In our class, we go to class to test knowledge and also to discover knowledge, which is very good. And so it's very good, most welcome. That's what I encourage everyone to be able to do really. Thank you for your comment, and I will be again explaining that in a little while. Thank you for that response. So I'm also going to post for the one by Shoki, and the one for the Shoki is here. Uh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Shoki, for your answer. Shoki's answer is there. It says uh, it just starts from one, a small introductory feature that teaches users the new features, and also he finishes with the to answer frequency question section to answer the questions. Thank you, Gishoki. I will be getting back to give comment on this in order to bias, not to bias the response from your colleague. So we go now to Atuti. Atuti, you have fixed your mic.
Yes, yes. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I was thinking about content updatability.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that we can address content updatability is by maybe making a repository that can be accessed quickly by the users in such a way that the in such a way that when the developers like update a particular section of the application, for example, the users can get access to the new updates very quickly by using a local repository, like maybe in Kenya or something.
Okay, good, good. Thank you. We'll ventilate on the same. Thank you for your answer, Tutti. And then now, Tangus. But before Tangus says, I think there is a comment on the chat. Yeah, Mariam. Yeah, I can post Mariam. Thank you for your answer. I'll post it here uh, for everyone. Okay, yeah, Mariam actually gives this. So thank you, Mariam, for your response to the questions. So then now, Tangus, please, you can go next. Edmond, I hope you can hear me. Edmond Tangus. At least I can see Tangus is logged in. So, and I can I can confirm he's actually using Tangus. Are you there? Let me check on Tangus's status so that then I can be able to effect any change I want to effect here. So since Tangus is not responsive, Tanguzu, you are going to be out of the room for some time until when I am able to know that you are serious. Good. So thank you for the three responses that you've received, so I can reflect on them and then be able to. So thank you. Safaricom wants to help their users learn the features of a new phone in the market quickly and easily. So here, um, there are two things, in fact, three things that are important. One, there is the user, there is the product, and there is the purpose. But more importantly, then, from user experience, we have been talking about, let's focus on what we are saying uh, user and product. Now, what are the issues? And remember, what we have been talking about here is that usability is dependent on a number of things, and user experience is also dependent on a number of things. And it means they have considered some things that are affecting the user experience. And which are the issues? Content updatability. So now you see you, who is actually an expert in technology, you know there is what we call updates, right? So, and in this particular case, you are saying in a new market, and who's this user? You can be sure updates, and most of you receive these what you are calling updates and such kind of things that you need to update in your phone. So the question that you ask yourself is, how do I update? Okay. So then what is it that I need to update? Issues to address include content updatability. So quite often you only want to update what you are aware, otherwise there's a problem. Standardization across multiple platforms and device constraints, including memory, processing, and all this. These are the issues that they want to address. Now, when you look at those issues, they are all technical issues. And who are the users of these uh, phones in the market? They are not necessarily the technical people. That's number one. So it means that you have defined the person, you have defined the user. Then now you know the context. Very important, and that's why we up there was saying put the user in the in the middle. Analyze this user in terms of who is this user, right? And then try to look at the things that you want this user to know. The things this user want to know are indicated there. So, what will be the solution to issues stated above? So, when you look at updating, so you need therefore to be able to reflect and actually be in a position to know how do you deal with issues with content from a technical perspective. Now, let's then now go to the responses our friends have given us. Standardization. Of course, Joan went to the second part, but let's start with Njoke, who said a small introductory feature that teaches user the new features. That's how to update content on the device and how to manage their storage. If you check, I like that answer. If you check um, those the updates that you get, and I also like the answer given by Mariam. You all receive what you call what? Uh, Ayan, you just come in and you are keying in. We have not concluded the class. You just came in and you are leaving early. Quite interesting. Eh? Um, um, so you see, there is what you call notification. You receive a notification, and then what do you do? Immediately after the notification, but the notification must be complemented with an explanation. So if you combine the answer for Milliam and the one for Geshoki, you are able to address the first part. And generally all those others, all right? So that then it tells you this is where you need to start, okay? And now, most of you do your systems, and your systems needs to be updated. Do you actually have a feature like that? So that then now, even when you come, um, uh, because this is what we are calling, why do we update, content? Why do we update, something? Is because we are aware there is going to be, uh, some element of audits, and so you need to do them. So it's very important. The other thing, which number two, standardization. Now, when you look at standardization in the context of what um, uh, has been discussed here, so you standardization across multiple platforms. So look, what when these guys new phones in the market. So in this particular case, you want to look at, okay, this phones is going to be used in what, under what circumstances. So how do you deal with standardization from a technical perspective? So I like the answers and the responses that your colleagues have given here, which offers a basis for discussion. Uh, John says that you could maybe optimize functionality tests to see whether it can work on different platforms. Um, you see, a functionality test you conduct it later. We talk about validation rather than this. There is no problem in testing whether it works, but you see, it can only work if it is designed to work. So I like what you have put, but then that comes after you have actually designed for. Um, so uh, Mariam says, considering screen size is an adaptability measure. Okay, but then you see, you platforms you design for different platforms. So in other words, what I want to hear here is that you check whether you design, and that's where we talked about you design various designs and different architectures, and that's why we talked about information architecture. Okay, so you design your information architecture. You check for the information architecture design, so that then it's going to be used across platforms. Okay, so such that then when you design a good architecture which is adaptable, which is which can generally be adopted across platforms, then screen size comes in, functionality, it's optimized, among other things. So the next comment was again, Yoshoki, more users will be equipped with knowledge on how to update content. Of course, that once you give the information, number one is assist, that's very good. Or you even give the FAQ, it's also good, it's assisted that. So I believe now everyone here, you will try to also have that in your system to try and make sure that all these things are there, or what we call the help section. Then there is the last bit. uh, which you are saying, because standardization across platforms and device constraint, including memory, process power, and integration, these are the information that you are going to do, so that then you are able to ensure that the system is working very well. So what will be the expected result? What is expected result is obviously in a company like this, the expected result is great uptake, great acceptability, because you are actually saying, okay, you have dealt with the technical thing, so what you are going to expect is that the people will uptake, have a good uptake of this particular, system that you have brought into the market. And then okay, other things Mariam has actually pointed there are those that you can actually do to enhance, acceptability. Wangari says for standardization, could they use cross-platform technology alternatives? Sure, that is actually, uh, yeah, I can actually put it here. Yeah, that is what we call designing for different, different platforms. That is sure. Yeah, cross-platform technology. You can actually use it. Good. So that brings us to the end of today's discussion. I want to allow you to reflect on those things and check whether they play any role in your systems that you have done. And let's see how you will make use of them in your various systems. Now that yeah, there's a comment. How do we get the notes? The notes are going to be put on the e-learning very shortly. Very shortly. Um, I think, yeah, very shortly. I think I'm trying to edit a few things so you'll have them. Uh, yes, Tangusi will not rejoin the class because he refused to answer my question. I think he's should have been honest enough. No, that's why I removed him from class. So my apology because he didn't answer my question and I reminded him many times. So I remarked him absent. Next time he will be serious a little bit. I think so. Uh, Mention the avoid uh, including contact information. Maybe I don't get it very well. Mariam, maybe this one I have not gotten it very well. Maybe we could popularize it or explain a little bit. How will it help in the question, whatever the case in point?
was uh, I was asking whether
Yes,
if we included the contact information from the above use case,
yes.
in the case of maybe standardization across multiple platforms, users on the different platforms can talk to the like the development team or the contact person and maybe air out their views.
Oh, okay. That I hear indeed where you are coming from, but I think it will be a bit tricky because now you will have to indemnify. Remember, there is this thing that we talk about confidentiality, user information, and such kind of things. You want as much as possible to avoid it. Storing this. Remember, they could be having the Safaricom. You have their numbers. They will be having your contacts. That's number one. But now here you are going to share it with a third person, a third party. The law doesn't allow it, and until you go back to the user and actually ask them to to identify them in order to give that. But in the FAQ, you are free to to give, because it's an interaction platform that could also be a way in which that can be tackled. That's how I could actually respond to it. Yeah. Now I can see there are others who are asking Marks about simulation and modeling. Yeah, a good question. There's Boro who's asking about it, and I saw some others writing emails and what. I'll always encourage you, just write in the email. I'll get it in my inbox, but at the same time, be very honest with yourself. Um, if you didn't submit within the time, sorry, that one it remains as such. Let us not offend each other. For me, I went by the time written in that system, and that is it. I think we respect each other that way. But if there is a mistake on my side, you point it out, and I'll be very glad for sure to correct that. Um, yeah, I think that there are others, even in their groups they were put. I mean, they decided not to be in a group and did their own things, I think. Yeah, and yet I said, yeah, you do in a group, and I want to see what individual did. The chairperson was right, this person did this and this and this, and this is what we did. Now, if you decide to hand in your own work, and the other one was a group work, so now, what do I do with that one now? Do I actually then go accuse your chair? And if I accuse your chair, how, why should I accuse your chair? And yet you see, we respect each other there. So I hear you, James. So let's if there is an issue, tell me my group was this. I have not seen my marks, and my chair was this and this, and I'll check, and I'll be glad to invite you and show you the screen. In fact, now that I'm even in the campus, those who have issues, I'll stay for 20 minutes before I rush home in order to prepare for an evening class. I would be glad to listen to that. But so generally we have finished the class, so you can type in your admission number as you exit. But those who have any issue, I am here. Yes, Atuti.
I haven't gotten my marks for the project, and I submitted like early.
Sorry.
I haven't gotten the marks for the project of simulations.
Yes, you submitted us.
I submitted early, like before time,
Hmm.
and I indicated like the group, what the group did on the file itself.
You submitted through the e-learning.
Yeah.
Um, in a minute, because I need to be able to confirm that one, because that is very good. Who was your group chair? You were the group chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and you submitted in the e-learning. That is correct. That's what you are saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the e-learning. So let me actually, uh, uh, in a minute, I confirm that with you because it's important we are able to confirm that, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.